It's incredible how many people appreciate watches. To be honest, people don't really need a watch in terms of, checking the time.
I really knew just about nothing about watches before I started here.
Have you worked in the watch industry before Chrono24, or was that your first job and your first dip into the shallow waters of the industry?
Yeah, this was my first time working in the watch industry. My background, I started off in finance earlier in my career, and then I pretty much worked in startups. I moved here from San Francisco, worked in a variety of roles from account management, sales, business development, partnerships, and yeah, one thing led to another, and I got connected with Tim, our CEO, and yeah, the rest is history.
Previously, for about 7 months, I was in financial services, so I did that. But yeah, this is my first exposure to the watch industry in general, and then I've always had like an affinity for like fashion and luxury goods and stuff like that. So I think it's a natural fit there.
Yeah, I guess before I just thought of it as something, I guess I really didn't think too much about it, but more as just like a fashion statement. I guess now that I know a lot more about it and hearing people that are really into watches speak about watches, you realize it's so much more than that. There's so much that goes on behind, just like the visual of the watch, which I think is really cool, especially when you kind of hear about, all the little specific parts of like watchmaking and fixing watches. And so that's pretty cool. I think that's really unique. And the people that know how to do that stuff, bravo to them, because it looks tough.
And
So
it's a crazy world, isn't it?
yeah, I think I have a lot more appreciation for it now. Before it was just, like an accessory.
Have you looked at the industry? Have you followed brands and stuff before you came to Chrono?
Somewhat, yes. I appreciated watches. One of my friends is really into watches, and so through him, I grew an appreciation for them. And so I would follow brands, and I would try to find the ones that I would like or that I wouldn't like. And so I knew a little bit about watches, and then I saw like Chrono24, and I was like, that's really cool because I like watches. I would love to get to know more about them, and working with them every day would be a great way to do it. So here I am.
Actually, there's nobody else in my family who really has much of an interest in watches. Don't know really why it came about. And so one day I was actually just looking at watches on Chrono24, kind of in my free time. So there was a career section, went there, clicked on it. Within a month I was working at Chrono, and it's been a really big exposure to watches all at one time. The more time I spend in it, the more I realize I know nothing about watches. So it's pretty nice to kind of be humbled by that. And there's just so many people involved.
So I always thought watches were really cool, and I always noticed them. But it was always kind of also this idea of like, why spend so much money on something that you can get for, like not even like 20 bucks, but like you can get a nice watch for $300, and like it works. It does the function. So it was kind of interesting to come into it and kind of realize that there's a lot more that goes into it, a lot of history that goes into it, the fact that there's like this thing that can be made manually that works so efficiently and effectively.
And it's this big.
Right, and it's that small. So it's been kind of an interesting journey into like seeing how the item isn't really necessarily functional or like just functional, and just kind of like the same as food and wine.
It's very interesting, to be kind of have front row seats to how watch brands are trying to innovate and adapt in this day and age when, to be honest, people don't really need a watch in terms of, checking the time. It's very interesting to learn, I guess, the business side of the watch industry, understanding, how brands connect to the millennials, how brands get inspired to create new pieces. Do they take risks and create new models like Audemars Piguet, or do you continue doing re-editions and reissues that look back at classical pieces?
Mostly, you've seen it from the new side, right? So you see it from the brands and from the boutique side, where you're passing by Fifth Avenue or Madison Avenue, you're seeing these stores, and that's what I grew up doing, is walking by and just kind of perusing and window shopping, right? And then ever since I've started, and kind of seeing how deeply rooted everything is, from pre-owned to the vintage. It's just so many layers that you can never really get your head around it.
It's incredible how many people appreciate watches. It's something that if you're not part of it, you don't really see it. It's really quiet and it kind of keeps to itself in some cases. And I think it's breaking out of that, especially with really famous people speaking more about their watches. John Mayer, like, really such an advocate for the watch community, bringing so many people in. And I think that it's just such a unique thing where people get to sort of bond over something when they maybe weren't able to bond over things before.